Rosemarie Falk, our local MP, is here today to join us, and we're going to catch up a little bit on how things have been going. Rosemarie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, Rosemarie, you have such a busy schedule, so we appreciate you coming in. But let's talk about being back in the House of Commons. What are some of the things that you've dealt with already in the past couple of weeks?
For sure, that's a great question. We have been back for a few weeks since the Christmas winter recess that we've had. The Conservative opposition has had an opportunity to bring forward 3 opposition day motions. So one of them was on bail reform, the other was on the cancellation of the carbon tax, and the third one was on capping spending, cutting government waste, wasteful spending, that type of thing. Every other party voted against it, all 3 of them, which was unfortunate. Especially, I mean, yesterday we celebrated Canadian Agriculture Day.
Right.
And our farmers do so much, so much, not only for Canada, but the world. Like, they are important in feeding the world and food security. And the carbon tax is going to go up again come April 1st, up to 14 cents a litre. And our farmers are going to be brunting that cost, which in turn the consumer at the supermarket is going to be brunting that cost as well. So everything's going to go up again. So it was disappointing to see every other party, like we were the only ones that voted for each one of those items.
So what can you do now then? Is there some way you can bring those back, or is that done?
We've brought forward cancellation of the carbon tax multiple times in different forms even. So we've even asked the government, look, if you're not going to cancel the carbon tax as a whole, cancel it on home heating, natural gas, minimum, so people can heat their home. And it's been a no every time from every party, which is unfortunate. And I know people around here have probably heard this, but the carbon tax is a tax plan, not an environment plan. So very frustrating on our end. But you know, even just hearing from constituents who are having a hard time making ends meet, it's just unfortunate that the rest of the House isn't listening.
So when you go into the next part of the session then, is there some way that you can bring this back, or do you have plans for other things coming up in the next little while here? For
sure, that's a really good question. We will be continuing to fight for affordability for Canadians in every area. So we've even seen this with one of the latest government scandals, which is McKinsey, and seeing the overpriced consultants that have been paid millions and millions of dollars of taxpayer money when we have a public service that said, look, we could have done some of that work. So continuing to find where the government is wasting money, holding them accountable for that, and making sure that we're bringing those issues to the forefront.
Now, we were talking a little bit about the size of the constituency and everything that you have to attend, and now that's going to be getting bigger coming, it could be for the next election or at least in the next year or so. So how does that change some of the things that you do and your portfolio, having to switch all of this up?
For sure, that's a really good question. So redistribution happens every 10 years, so it's after the long form census that happens. All the ridings in Saskatchewan will be shifted a little bit here or there. It has to do with population, so that each member of parliament has roughly about the same amount of constituents that they would represent. So it will be changing. It has to still be confirmed through the House, but once that's voted on, the boundaries will be changing, and it's a long process. I know, I want to say last June there was hearings in North Battleford for this constituency, and that's when people had the opportunity to come and say yay or nay, I like this, I don't like this. And really it's just going to be about meeting the new people that are being added to the riding, and we're pretty much similar across, you know, with what our economy is, with agriculture and energy. So it'll just be adding people to the Battleford's Lloydminster family.
Well, and we talked about your constituents getting in touch with you for a number of different things, and just recently there was an issue again with masks, which I kind of thought was over and done with, but I guess not. But you ended up bringing that to the floor as well. So can you tell me what happened? It was after a complaint by a local constituent as well, correct?
For sure, absolutely. So what happened is we had a constituent who had a mask exemption. They had gone to Service Canada to get services. They weren't afforded that opportunity due to the COVID regulations that ESDC, Service Canada, had implemented. So we actually had the Minister, Karina Gould, at committee, I guess would have been just this past week, Tuesday, what day is it? On Tuesday. And I had the opportunity to ask her, like, look, what's going on with this? We don't have mask mandates anywhere or in any other federally regulated department. I mean, to fly, you don't need to wear a mask. So why is this being enforced? My constituents have to drive sometimes a very far distance in order to get service. And to get there, with the price of everything, price of fuel, all of this, and your time costs money, to be turned away is unacceptable. The minister actually didn't even know that the policy had changed. It was her assistant deputy who had informed us that last Friday it was changed, and the website should be changing soon. So hopefully, Canadians will be able to have access to better, more efficient service sooner than later.
Oh, I know, Rosemarie, one of the things we talked about when we spoke last time was people writing to you about their concerns. And you're basically saying at that time that if you don't know what's going on or what they are concerned about, you can't really do anything about it. So if people have concerns with anything regarding the government or things they'd like you to look into, what's the best way to get that information to you?
Absolutely, that's a really good question. You can call my office or even send my office an email. I have no problem too. If you live somewhere not near where our constituency office is here in Lloydminster, I have no problem coming to a town near you and hearing what you have to say. But yeah, contacting my office, phone, email, and not only to hear what your concerns are, but if there are things that you do appreciate or you do like, it's important that I hear about that so I can take that back to the floor of the House and also the caucus room.
Right. Well, we appreciate your time. I know you're so busy. So thank you so much for joining me today. And we're going to make this a regular thing. So we will be chatting again in another few weeks and keeping everybody up to date. So thanks again for joining us.
Wonderful. Thank you.